Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's Marvin speaking. I hope everyone's having a good day. It's hot. I'm back in the office and back making videos. So we're going to look into a private message, and the person goes on to say, I was reading some notes from a while back, and this I had forgotten about. Brad's having nightmares, seeing him like that. This was absolute, basically seeing Jay like that. This was absolute proof at the start of the case that this could not have been an accident. Had it been an accident, Brad could not have seen him like that. Yeah, you're right. And I believe that he basically had nightmares because Jay had passed, and he knew it. And I think he felt guilty and was probably the one that was sort of thinking, what the hell's happened? We've got to explain this to his parents, brother, and all the other relatives, and basically the police as well. I think a lot of things did get to Brad, but I still think that he had some involvement in Jay's demise. But like I said, I don't think he expected actually Jay to die. But I also do think as well, I think his allegiance was with Tom Hilton, Lucy, and Brandon more than Jay, to be honest with you. That's my view on that. So the person goes on to say, I've also written about a message leak between Chloe and Lucy. It talks of Mark and Jonas, who we now know as M. Is Mark LW and Jonathan A? Lucy states they will make. Well, we don't know, but because the problem is with name aliases and people going under other names, we can't really prove it. We know that obviously this Jonathan Tanda was involved somewhere along the line. I think he was the person at the Airbnb at the end of the day. But we are trying to sort of build a narrative what we do now. These characters, some of these characters have come in later on in the case as well. So this person goes on to say, I've written the rules out. Roman running him over because Roman was drunk, more likely an accident, but would explain them using his Airbnb maybe. The message from Chloe asked Lucy why she didn't go and pick him up. Lucy replied he wasn't there. He took too much and lost the bag. I have written they would. He tell them he took rugs if he lost the bag. The bag is lost and they need not knowing. Doesn't make sense. I now don't believe this is a physical bag because of the Lucy previously saying in other leaked messages between her and her mum, I effed up. He lost what he had. We know now she was using him as a money mule, and his bank blocked his account. I agree with that. I think that's a very good point. And I tell you what's interesting about this as well is that I was told in the early days from people who were out there that, didn't really want to sort of come out and say that they heard, and they were out in Tenerife at the time, that Jay was taken because of Lucy and Brandon using him as well. And I believe that Brad knew the story and thought, oh, maybe nothing's going to really happen. We'll probably take a kick in or something, and that's it. But I think when it actually did go off, I think he got scared, told his mum, and that's where things obviously petered back to Debbie. There's a video which obviously this streamliner's asked me to look into, but like I said, if people want to look at it, it's Lucy's Secrets Revealed. I did DTR use us for attention, blood on trail. So people can have a look at that video. It is my understanding that this was a pre-planned revenge situation. They planned the accident narrative in Malta as the previous message I sent you of outside festival. What if I effed up? Wasn't Lucy talking about money or rugs? What if she meant she got the planned narrative wrong? I wonder if the rest went wrong because of her mistake. Now we know that Lucy is highly manipulative. She's already had her alibi prepared for leaving the club early, pre-taken photos. All she had to do was post it at 10:30 a.m. saying she left early. Listen to this, it's her first interview. I woke up to a phone call at 8:30. She woke up to call from Brad, but she didn't. It was Brandon. We know she phoned Jay's phone. She rang 911 USA, which is obviously not that number, to ring the police in Tenerife. Remember, she and Ayub were up there in the early hours searching for Jay. And yes, she doesn't mention Brandon. We know she wrote the message about Jay losing the bag to Chloe. I think she realised it was a dumb thing to say, that Jay took too much, then lost the bag. I think this was her covering herself. She's thinking that they will just think it's drugs. Think because people lose sympathy for drug crime quickly. We've all seen how careful criminals are to cover tracks and ensure messages are kept private. So why use the Instagram? I believe this may be deliberate. They message paint a picture that she is vulnerable because of Jay. If he was stealing, then lost the bag, it is his own fault. The reality is he was set up and she messed the story up and then tried to fix it. She actually states people on TikTok aren't stupid. They more or less know what happened. This would have been whilst we were looking at the beach footage to put us back onto the Ruggs path. This person goes on to say, using Jay's bank account was a serious mistake because the bank shut it down. The only person who would be able to fix it was Jay. Now thinking about it, was Brandon actually the person trying to draw the cash? Did he have the PIN number? That's interesting. That's a really, really good point. Jay is already dead and they can't get the money out. And that's why the new GoFundMe was set up by Lucy. Interesting. They accidentally lost all the stock sales and knew they were never going to recover it. That's a really, really good point. You know, obviously you can see this Streamliner has analysed everything of, you know, what may have or what could have happened. And you're right, someone else could have been controlling Jay's card as well, trying to take money out. Just one more point. Remember that she distanced herself by the messages appealing for someone to help her get up there. Again, these messages were leaked from a private member-only group. I believe this was deliberate. Lena is a willing alibi that she didn't spend the night at the Airbnb or travel up to the Airbnb with Ayub. I think this was leaked around the time that we were talking about the service station witness saying that there were 2 cars with 7 people in them. Yes, Ali Harris has checked that out, people. And she did have someone come back to her, not the manager, but somebody who works there, who confirmed that there were 2 cars that pulled up at that station. So that is true. There's another video to go and rewatch as well, people, which is interesting. Is Roman the mayor the connection and the reason Jay went missing? Why is this case? I'm just rewatching this. Can you see the Belgian flag? Maruba is blue, and here we see the red one. Yeah. I was looking into the Roman running Jay over story. It kind of doesn't work. But what if Roman ran Brad over? Brad went in a white shirt and jeans. The Maruba is already away with Jay. Roman could already be peed off that he has to do a cleanup on Tenerife. There are many, and drives deliberately into Brad. It's Brad in the boot of the white car. Interesting, because he's a little bit stockier than Jay as well. And I always thought that person in the boot of the car was basically could have been somebody else. It may even been Brad, who knows? But I do think that story's a little bit far-fetched, to be honest with you, because like I said, if Brad was run over, he would have had some sort of battle scars, to be honest with you, or had to have gone to the hospital. And I'm sure his mum would have said something about that as well. But you know, like I said, I think, to be honest with you, I think Brad's inclusion in this case is quite a one to think about, because I do think that he is the weak link into this case, and I also do think he didn't expect Jay to die. But like I said, I think he also knew. I think he's got a conscience out of all of them. I do think he's got a conscience, even though he's scared to say something. It wouldn't surprise me whether he did get in a fight with Ayub and Rocky, because he didn't want to go with the narrative, but they forced him to, because obviously they're their hierarchy and they've got the backup to bully Brad and the family as well. But like I said, some interesting stuff there. Let me know what your thoughts are, because obviously this streamliner has really looked into things. The Lena Patel, Roman's involvement in this, Jay's camaraderie, Brad's camaraderie with Jay. Obviously, Lucy really putting the, you know, making up lies as she went right in the early days to say that she did everything possible to see whether basically she could find Jay, and that he went missing into the mountains and that he's to blame. I told him to go back to the Airbnb, and she was pulling all the strings, and I think she was basically given all of that to say by Ayub, and I think she was threatened to do it as well. Once again, I don't think she expected basically Jay to pass. She thought it was just going to be basically a really bad beating. But I think from Jay basically going on to the Maroubra onwards, I think he passed in those, you know, that time span of maybe 2 to 3 hours. It's because I think, one, they couldn't afford to keep him alive, just to keep he talked. And like I said, if he was on rugs and they tried to basically get him to come round and he couldn't, and like I said, he had been basically tabbed as well, as the eyewitness said, then it just makes you think that this poor boy went through, young man, should I say, went through hell at the end of the day, and his friends really, really let him down. Let me know what you think, obviously, of the streamliner's narrative. I think she's very good on this case and looks into things deeply. Thank you very much indeed. That's the private messages there. And don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment and follow the channel. Thank you very much indeed.